So along comes Jesus. I love this about Jesus. And he begins to walk with them and talk with them. You know, there's a lot of people that don't even know Jesus that Jesus is walking with and talking with. How do you think you got saved? You think it's just one day all of a sudden? No, he was walking with you and talking with you the whole time. He was whispering stuff to you. He was wooing you. He was drawing you. He's walking with them. He's talking with them the whole time. And what he's doing is he's reprogramming their reasoning. And ultimately, they discover this great spiritual truth that God can defy what we reason or what we think is possible. In fact, that's what God does. God is bigger than what we can reason. He's bigger than our whys, our hows, and our whens. He's bigger than what we can humanly comprehend or wrap our brains around. He's bigger than what it looks like and what it appears to be and even what it is. And the key to the comeback is to reprogram your reasoning. Beginning to understand nothing is impossible for God. Beginning to reprogram your reasoning, nothing's too difficult for him. Beginning to understand that God's power is so omnipotent that he doesn't even break a sweat. He didn't even break a sweat when he spoke the worlds into existence. And yes, the cross caused him the sweat drops of blood, but it wasn't because of the difficulty of overcoming death. It was because of the separation from the Father. We need to get to a place where we walk with Jesus and talk with Jesus long enough that our programming is rewired so that we reason the right way instead of allowing the enemy to cause us to reason in a way that restrains us from seeing Jesus move in our lives. Do you remember Abraham? Abraham first met with God. This is why, give people a minute to grow. Not everybody gets it from Jump Street. Most of us don't. Abraham meets God. God says, we'll give you a child. Abraham goes and tells Sarah. You know what Abraham and Sarah do? They laugh. They laugh in the face of God. We're old. This doesn't happen. What was the enemy doing? Trying to get them to reason, to restrain what God wanted them to do. Abraham walks with God for about 13 or so years. More, maybe it was 12. Something like that, 12, 13 more years. Just walks with God a little bit more. And he's walking with God and he's talking with God that whole time. And what is God doing the whole time he's walking and talking? He is reprogramming his reasoning. And now God says to him, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and I want you to offer up your son Isaac. This is the child of promise. This is the one through whom all nations of the world will be blessed. This is the one through whom the Messiah will come. And he says to him, I want you to go and I want you to offer up to me Isaac. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 17 says, by faith, Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac. By the way, you know where your test is? Your test is in your reasoning. Your battle is between the faith in your heart and the reason in your head. And here's what he says, and by faith, when he was tested, he offered up Isaac, who had received the promise. And he who had received the promise offered up his only begotten son, of whom it is said, in Isaac your seed shall be called, concluding, reasoning, that God was able to raise him up even from the dead. What happened to Abraham? He went from laughing in the face of God when God said that God wanted to do something impossible. He went from allowing the enemy to reason him in his head so that he would be restrained from seeing God, to now reasoning differently. Now looking at God and saying, God, if this is what you required, then I'm going to reason that you are even greater than death, that nothing is too difficult for you, that if you said it, you will bring it to pass. And it's time that we walk with Jesus intimately enough to reason that God is greater than anything that life throws our way. That he is greater than our pain and our poverty and our sickness and our depression and our failures and our challenges and our obstacles and our mess. And he's greater than our addiction. He's greater than it all.